Today's the day we're going to stain these 5 cooler boxes. So let me go ahead and get my can of stain stirred up, and we'll get started. I turn the can upside down and shake it, and my idea behind that is I'm hoping any pigments that settle to the bottom of the can, the sloshing around will release them so that they can get back into the liquid and mix up really well. I like to kind of rotate the can as I shake it so that, you know, if the liquid is in there at a little bit of an angle and there's an air pocket here, as I slosh it, I can get up into each of the corners to really get things moving in there. I'm going to take the stain that's on the top and get it back into the can. That way I don't waste it and I don't have a top that's just full of stain laying there, because I will get into it if I don't clean it up. Alright, do a little bit of stirring with the stir stick, and again, what I'm doing is I'm going to get into the corners with the stir stick, because that's where a lot of stuff settles, on the bottom of the can in the corners, and I'm going to kind of lift as I stir, just to get those particles resuspended in the stain solution. I'm getting all the corners, scraping back and forth on the bottom of the can. This is a little difficult to do sometimes when the can is full, because if you're not careful, you'll slosh it out everywhere. All right. I did have this stain shaken up the other day, and right before I bought it, so it was shaken on one of those machines, so I don't think it's really settled all that much over the course of just a couple of days, but I think we're in good shape. Let's get that out of the way. All right, I'm left-handed. I think I'll start on that side and work my way around. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start out by just putting a light coat of stain on the bottom, and then I'll flip this over and stain the top of it. I just do that because it just provides a little extra protection against moisture. No one will ever see it, but it makes me feel better about, you know, what I'm building and what I'm selling. I used to use the foam brushes to do this, but the problem I had was rustic is kind of in, so the wood is rough. I haven't smoothed it down a whole lot, and those foam brushes tend to catch on the rough splinters in the wood, and they just tear all up. So I started using a brush, and it works a little better. I'm making sure I get down to all the cracks, or all the gaps, or not really cracks and gaps, where 2 pieces of wood meet, the joints. Make sure I get down in all the joints. That way there's plenty of stain in there, and hopefully the water sealer and the stain will help these last for many, many years. I'm going to grab me a stain rag. This is kind of nice. I splattered a little bit of stain up on my face, but I'll also need this if anything runs or, you know, drips or anything. I can clean it up real quick. Looks like I hit right there, but that's okay, because we're going to cover that in a few minutes anyway. All right, I'm fairly happy with that. It looks good. I'm going to go ahead. I will probably paint the outside of these and the legs before I flip it over. But before I do that, I want to paint the bottom. Otherwise, if I paint this, or I keep saying paint, if I stain this, then when I'm reaching in here, I'm going to have stain all up my arms, all over my shirt. And while I don't expect to be spotless doing this job, I really would like to avoid getting messy if I can. So we're going to paint this, then we'll come back and paint the inside of the legs. Actually, I think I'll paint the inside of the legs first, and then I'll paint this flat area. Then we'll come back and paint the side legs down to about here, flip it over, and we'll finish the upper part. Sorry if I got in the way of the camera there just a little bit, but that's kind of a tough angle to paint the inside of the back of these legs. I figured I'd get you guys in a little closer. It just occurred to me you're way far away. You can't really even see what I'm doing. So I figured I'd bring you in a little closer and just kind of give you some close-up shots. Now that I've got all of the base finished and the bottom of the box, I'm going to start painting down the legs. I'm going to go ahead and paint the legs all the way down, and I know you can't see that in the video, but all the way down to the base. So this entire leg will be painted on all four sides, and at that point I'll flip this over and start working on the rest of the box. One other thing I want to do before I flip these is get the bottom of this. This is the lip on top of the cooler box, and I'm going to go ahead and get some stain on the bottom of that. So we'll do that real quick as we're working the legs. Now that I've got all of the underside elements painted, I need to get this flipped over. First thing we're going to do though is we're going to move the paint can, because if we don't, we'll flip it over. Now this could get a little messy because the lip is painted. So what I need to do is, you've got a spigot on this side that's attached to the cooler. I need to slide my hand under the back side, grab a hold of the cooler so that it doesn't fall down and break the connection between the spigot and the cooler. So I'll get my hand under there and get a hold of the cooler, and then I've somehow got to get this flipped over without getting my hand in the stain. I think what I'm going to do is go get a latex glove for my left hand. That way if I do grab the lip or the leg, I'm not going to get it all over my hands, so I prefer to keep my hands clean when I work, number one. And number two, I think it'll be easier to touch up. So let me grab a glove and I'll be right back. All right, first things first, I want to tip this and get my hand under the cooler. There it is. Now I'm going to try to grab it. There we go. And we'll set it right up. All right. And I think I can grab it on the inside like this and adjust it around back on the cardboard. Surprisingly, that went better than I thought. Everything looks good. I don't see any spots where I touched it. I have a little bit of stain on my glove, I don't know where they came from, but I don't see any fingerprints. So we're going to take this glove off and save it for the next move. I don't like to wear them in the heat because it's just so hot, you sweat so much, and they just feel gross. But we'll go ahead and put this aside and save it and get the outside painted. Stained. Sorry. I don't know why I want to say paint. Just kind of looking at the cooler box to get an idea for what I want to do. Initially I thought, well, I'll just go ahead and paint this first. And then I got to looking down here at the shelf underneath, and I thought if I'm reaching underneath the shelf, I'm leaning into the stain I put up here. So I think I'm going to paint the shelf first. Then I'll come back and get the front. Then I'll do my front edge, and then we'll do the top edge last. So that's my plan of attack. That's 1 down and 4 to go. However, I'm going to stop, and I'll tell you why. My wife came out, and we both looked at this, and we both agreed we do not like this stain. Earlier, I kept saying paint, paint, paint. That's what this stain reminds me of. It's very thick, like a paint, goes on thick, covers, and I'm sure it provides superior protection against the elements. However, let me show you why I don't like it. Taking a look at that cooler box, it looks like a brown box. Take a look at the others. Look at the grain in that cedar. When people come up and they take a look at these cooler boxes, they're going to say, oh, you know, that's nice, a brown box. Or they're going to say, wow, just look at the grain in that. I mean, that's what gives these cooler boxes their beauty, and that's what gives the cedar its beauty, is all of that grain. And looking at that box, do you see any grain? So, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to see what kind of stain I have around here, and if I don't have anything that I like here, I'm going to head to the store and get something else that will allow that grain, something that's more translucent, that will allow that grain to pop. I just finished the second one. Let me show you what it looks like. I finished this one out in a golden oak. Now that looks really, really dark for a golden oak stain, but I think what's happened is it's gone ahead and grabbed some of the red from the cedar. Got my brush and some mineral spirits. I'm going to clean it up. My wife just left. She's going to come back and bring me some natural stain. I finished the third one. I did it in a natural stain. I really think I like this one the best. Show you the other two again. That one's much darker. That's done in a golden oak. And this is done in a cedar tint Thompson water seal. I'm really liking this natural stain. I just finished a second cooler box, and I like how it really shows the grain of the wood. Let me get you a little better shot. I just think that the natural stain looks so much better. I just love the character of the wood, seeing the knots and the grain. I just think it's beautiful. I've got one left to paint. It's getting kind of late in the evening. My son has a play that he wants to go to tonight, so I'm going to take him there. And after the play, tonight at midnight, the new Harry Potter book is released. So I'm going to take him over to the local bookstore, Barnes & Noble. He's pre-ordered a copy, and they're having a huge party. So we're going to head over to that, and I think it's about 4 hours. I think it's like 8 to midnight. And then at midnight, everyone who pre-ordered their copy of the new Harry Potter book gets the book. So he's pretty darn excited. He's a big fan. So I've got those plans. I need to call it a night. Plus, I just ran out of natural stain. I used an entire quart of natural stain. So I'm going to pick another quart up tonight. And then tomorrow I'm going to finish the last one. And we'll show you some video of how they look. I've got all 5 of my cooler boxes stained. There's the first one I stained right there. I used a Thompson's water seal on there. It's a lot like a paint in that it's very thick. You can just barely see some of the grain. I wasn't super happy with that one, but it did turn out nice. I used a little golden oak on that one, gave it kind of a rustic look. I used a natural stain on both of those to really let the cedar board show through. And I showed those 4 last night on Facebook on my RJB Woodturner page, and I asked people which of the 4 they liked the best. And the #1 response was the rustic one. So the 5th cooler box, this morning, I stained in golden oak and gave it that rustic look. I'm really happy with how they all turned out. I'd like to thank everybody for following along with me on my little adventure in staining here. It was quite a job, but I'm very happy that it's over. And I'm putting all of my supplies away. I'm going to get the garage cleaned up again, and then we'll start over putting everything together, getting the hinges and the handles and the bottle openers on everything. So that'll be another video, and that should be fun. Not sure if that'll be tonight or tomorrow, but thanks for following along, and hope to see you soon.